Hey guys, Mike here with EP Adventures. Just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about turkey season. Turkey season started up today for those of you who are patient enough to wait for the late season. May 1st, so the 234 hunt, you guys got a whole month to go and chase birds around now, which is great. I'm looking forward to it personally because I get to go out and try and call some birds in for some friends. So I did the first season myself, and I was able to go out and shoot a pretty nice tom with my bow on the first day. And I've been hunting with a couple of friends for the last 2 weeks as well. So I wanted to give you guys a couple of heads up that I've noticed in the last week probably. Birds are starting to catch on a little bit, guys. They're getting a little bit smarter. They've been getting shot at. They've been getting called to. They're starting to figure some things out, and a couple of things I wanted to let you guys know about to try and maybe avoid what we've had happen the last couple days. I called in a couple times in the last few days, and the birds have came in gobbling the entire way in. These were afternoon sits actually, and the birds gobbled all the way in. They got to 80 yards. They see the decoy and the tent set up and all the stuff, and they turn around, shut right up, and leave and go the other direction. So a couple things I'm going to take from that, and you guys can take it or leave it. Just things that I would suggest you try and do if you're in areas where birds are getting hunted and they're pressured. Your neighbor may have already been out and called in 2 or 3 times in a bunch that come into his decoy setup. He shoots one, bam, those other 2 are immediately smart. I mean, they've got the decoy setup, they've been called to, and they've seen the tent, and they've seen a fire come out in front of it, or an arrow with a nocturnal on attached to it came out and smacked Joe and killed him, and now they're gone. So these birds are now educated, they're smart. So what we're noticing and we're thinking is tent setup, brush them in a little bit, guys. Just brush them in a little bit. You don't have to get too crazy. They're not whitetails. They're mostly afraid of movement, but I do feel like if you can break them up a little bit, it's going to help you out on getting birds to come into them and not hold off being a little nervous of that tent. So brush them in a tad. The foliage is getting pretty thick right now, and probably in the next 2 weeks you won't even have to worry about it because everything's going to be all green and all popped up and thick anyway. So for the first week or two here of this late season here, I would suggest maybe brushing them in a little bit. Second thing that I would probably suggest for you guys to do right now, personally, this is what I'm going to do hunting with friends here in the next couple weeks. I'm going to stick with probably just hen decoy setups because those 2 things. It could have been the tent, it could have been the decoy setup at why these birds have been coming in, hitting the decoy setup and the tent setup, and before they ever even get close enough to see if it's a tom or a jake decoy or anything, they're turning around and leaving when they're 100 yards away. They just don't like something. So what I'm taking from that is they may have been called into a setup and shot out of a tent, and they don't like the tent, or they don't like that jake decoy, that male decoy in that setup. They may have gotten their butt kicked by another tom. In the last couple of weeks, they're breeding pretty heavy, and those big dominant, those boss toms, they're not afraid to kick somebody's butt if they get too close to their girlfriends. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to run with strictly hen decoys for the next week and just see what it does. You aren't going to scare anything away or deter any birds from a hen setup. You can have jakes walk into that. You can have your younger 2 and 3-year-old birds walk into that. And I mean, they're not whitetails, guys. There's not a big difference, for I think most guys. When a bird walks in and they've got a beard on them, and it's a tom, who cares if he's 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever it be, or a jake. Those of you guys, you can pop a jake. It's all fun. I don't want to deter any bird from coming into my setup is what I'm trying to get at here. And that's why we're going to run strictly hen decoys. And, because those toms can come in. If you got a group of jakes, they aren't going to want to walk into a tom that's breeding hens. They're going to think, last time I went over there, I got my butt kicked. So, and it's the same thing with those, your younger toms, your 2-year-old birds with the 1/2 to 3/4 inch spurs. They're a little bit younger, a little bit smaller birds. They've probably gotten beat up by a bigger tom in the last couple of weeks or in their lifetime, and they don't want to mess with that. If they come in and there's a bird breeding a hen and it's got a red head, they aren't going to relate whether it's a big tom or who it is. They just know they've gotten beat up, and they know they don't want to go back and fight, and they're just not a dominant bird. So they're going to end up turning around and leaving and going the other direction. So stick with the hen decoys, guys. In my opinion, that's what I'm going to do. And I would try and brush the tents in a little bit, and I think you'll have some better luck, especially if you're in an area where you're hunting and there's a lot of other guys that have been chasing them around and calling to them. So stick with those couple things. Don't overcall. Get out there early, get in before they're awake, figure out where they're roosting, they've been gobbling pretty good on the roost. Just don't overcall to them, guys. That really boogers them up, and they've probably been overcalled to by one of your neighbors that got a new box call he wanted to try out, and he's out and out, you know, just calling his head off out there trying to make birds gobble at him. So they are getting a little smart to the calls, they're getting a little smart to the decoy setups, and a little smart to the tents. So take all those things into consideration when you guys go out and hit the field. I hope that helps a little bit for those of you, and you know, good luck. I hope you go out. I hope you get a big bird, and hopefully these few little tips that I've given you guys are enough to put a bird in your lap. So good luck, and send us some pictures to EP when you get them, guys.